Alright, we need to revisit our pluribus theory. If you haven't seen this video already, go give it a watch. We'll wait. Episodes 3 to 9 add layers that might shift how our argument holds up.
Yeah, because last time we said that the hive mind isn't the perfect representation of humanity, even though it contains almost everyone. And Carol, with all her flaws and contradictions, that's what made her the most human.
But when you really break down episodes 3 to 9, things get strange. Some of what happens lines up with what we said. Some of it pushes in the opposite direction. And some moments raise questions we didn't even know we needed to ask. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this type of videos.
Alright, before we start questioning our entire worldview, can we talk about what actually happens in episodes 3 to 9? Because this show does not believe in emotional warm-ups.
Yeah, episode 3 opens with Carol getting irritated that the others reorganized her groceries. So, she sarcastically asks for a grenade. And the hive, like a hyper-literal Amazon Prime with no morality filter, just hands her one, instantly. Same-day delivery, no hesitation.
That was the moment I realized the hive isn't peaceful. They're just extremely obedient in a way that could casually end civilizations.
Then episode 4 arrives, and Carol decides to do science the way high schoolers do dares. She injects herself with a truth serum, then injects Zosia. And the only thing she discovers is how fast a bad idea can escalate.
Carol breaks down in the aftermath, and the hive basically just stands there begging for Carol's permission to save Zosia.
Episode 5 gets even stranger. The others leave Albuquerque. Just pack up and relocate. Quietly, calmly, no confrontation. And Carol has to piece together what's happening on her own. Then in episode 9, they do the same thing when Menosus starts acting aggressively.
Yeah, she wonders like, hello? And the word goes, we're busy, figure it out. At least Menosus had Carol to give him the explainer in episode 9.
And then episode 6, we hit the dietary refuel, HDP, human-derived protein. Not metaphorical, not symbolic. It's literally processed human corpses they're eating. Explained to Carol by John Cena.
Because they can't harm anything alive. So the only source of food they can use is whatever humans have already left behind. This is the least appetizing moral dilemma of all time.
And if that wasn't enough, we learned the hive can convert immunes like Carol, but only with full consent. Till we learn in episode 9 they were secretly using Carol's previously frozen eggs to create a serum to convert her in 2-3 months, tops. That's not comforting, but downright subversive. Which means some parts of our original theory get reinforced, and some parts definitely need a closer look.
So here's my question. After everything we just recapped, did the hive get better or worse? Because honestly, I'm seeing improvements. They're polite, they're non-violent, they almost always ask for consent, they explain themselves. That's more communication than most human governments.
I disagree. To me, episodes 3 to 9 make the hive way scarier. Not just borderline evil, also terrifyingly literal. Like, they didn't even want to mention their secret serum project to convert Carol until she asked about it directly. That's not emotional intelligence, that's scheming.
Okay, but they're still peaceful. They follow the rules so strictly they can't even step on a blade of grass without morally short-circuiting.
Right, but that's exactly the problem. They don't choose peace, they're locked into it. It's not morality, it's firmware.
Still better than humans. Humans can choose peace and still don't.
Sure, but you know what humans can also do? Interpret context, recognize tone, understand that "can I please have a grenade" is sarcasm and not a special request.
Okay, fair. The hive does take everything too literally. If Carol ever jokes about, "I wish the sun would disappear," that's the series finale.
Exactly. So when I look at episodes 3 to 9, the hive isn't upgraded or downgraded. It's exposed. We're finally seeing the limits of their intelligence. Obedient, powerful, constrained, moral in weird ways, and completely unable to handle nuance.
And yet, they still might be doing better than us. You know, aside from the corpse smoothies.
Aside from that, yes.
Okay, but let's slow down and really unpack that grenade moment, because that wasn't just funny or shocking, it was the clearest look we've gotten at how the hive thinks.
Exactly. Carol wasn't asking for a weapon. She was expressing frustration. Humans interpret tone, intention, sarcasm, emotion. The hive doesn't. It just detects a request and executes it.
It's like talking to a voice assistant with superpowers.
And that's the problem. In episodes 1 and 2, the hive seemed peaceful because it was clean, calm, orderly. But episode 3 shows that peace wasn't emotional, it was mechanical.
They're just not making moral judgments, they're just completing tasks, which, honestly, is terrifying. You do not want a species that treats your sarcasm like a binding contract.
Right, this isn't empathy, it's automation wearing a human face. They can rebuild a city, heal an injury, hand you a grenade or a nuke, all with the same tone.
But here's the weird thing, it's not malicious. They actually think they're helping. So if your definition of humanity includes things like nuance, judgment, hesitation, doubt, that grenade moment is the episode screaming, yeah, the hive doesn't have any of that.
And that actually supports part of our original argument. The hive mind may contain all humans, but it isn't behaving like humanity.
Alright, but if we're talking about flaws and nuance, episode 4 is basically Carol's emotional jailbreak. She's grieving, she's confused, she's exhausted, and she decides the solution is truth serum.
Yeah, and unlike the hive, which follows rigid rules, Carol follows grief logic. Messy, irrational, I'm desperate for answers and I'll try anything logic. It's chaotic, but it's recognizably human.
She injects herself, she injects Zosha, she spirals, she cries. It's a whole emotional hurricane. And the hive? They're just standing there watching like, we're not equipped for this. Please send instructions.
Exactly. This is the tension episodes 3 to 9 keeps pushing. The hive is stable but shallow. Carol is unstable but deep.
Meanwhile, the hive looks at emotion like it's malware. They don't process it, they don't internalize it, they don't even learn from it. They just react to it externally.
And that's the critical part. Carol learns from her mistakes. Her emotional chaos forces growth. The hive, it just moves on to the next instruction.
So yeah, episode 4 doesn't weaken our argument, it actually reinforces why Carol represents humanity. She fails loudly, the hive succeeds quietly, but only one of them evolves. Episode 6 is where everything flips upside down, because suddenly we learn the hive isn't just peaceful by choice. They literally cannot harm anything alive. No humans, not animals, not plants. They're basically hard-coded pacifists.
Right, and that sounds noble until you realize what that means for their survival. If you can't eat plants, can't eat animals, and definitely can't eat people, you're left with only one option: processed human corpses.
Yeah, HDP, the worst protein powder sponsorship imaginable. That whole scene in the processing plant felt like someone crossed a humanitarian crisis with a butcher shop.
It's disturbing, but it tells us something important. The hive isn't choosing a morally superior diet. They're stuck inside biological and ethical constraints they didn't design. They're surviving in the only way their rules allow.
So they're peaceful but desperate, strong but starving, powerful but restricted by rules they can't break, even if breaking them would save them.
Exactly. And then comes the consent twist. The hive can convert immunes like Carol, but only if she fully agrees, like they did in the last episode when they converted the Paraguayan girl. After which, by the way, they just pack up and leave like they were only acting as a village to keep her fooled. That says something about their values and emotional intelligence.
Honestly, that's more peaceful than half the friend requests I get. At least the hive doesn't spam, join us, every 10 minutes.
But philosophically, this is huge. It means the hive is not trying to erase individuality. They are trying to complete themselves without violating their own rules. They want Carol, but they won't take her. Hopefully.
Which makes the hive weirdly ethical? Like disturbingly ethical.
Exactly. And that's where episode 6 forces us to reconsider our initial stance. The hive mind isn't trying to be the perfect humanity. It's trying to operate within impossible constraints. It's powerful but incomplete, peaceful but not wise, moral but not emotional.
Alright, so here we are, the big question. After everything we just saw in episodes 3 to 9, were we wrong about the Pluribus Hivemind?
If the argument was that the hive isn't the perfect representation of humanity, the grenade, the nuke, the obedience, the HTTP factory, the consent rules, all of that strengthens that point.
Because the hive might contain almost everyone, but it's missing the part that makes humans humans. Nuance, contradiction, instinct, regret, self-doubt, emotional combustion.
Exactly. Humanity isn't a database of memories or a collective archive of decisions. It's the inner conflict behind those decisions. And the hive still can't simulate that.
But there is something new. They're not just a giant, over-eager assistant anymore. They're adapting, trying to survive without breaking their own laws.
Right. So if our original argument was that the hive was shallow, simple, and idealized, episodes 3 to 9 show something more complex. They're not villains. They're not saviors either. They're a species backed into a corner.
So, were we wrong? Not exactly. But we weren't seeing the whole picture either.
Which is the point. Carol and the hive aren't opposites. They're two complete halves of what humanity used to be. Carol carries the emotional truth. The hive carries the collective potential. Neither one is whole.
If we're being honest, the real question isn't if we were wrong about the hive, it's how much more the hive is hiding that we haven't figured out yet.